In video tutorial 23, we're going to be making open eyes. These are the eyes that Betsy has. You can see them here. So we're going to come up in exactly the same place as we did with the sleepy eyes. You're going to need some pins, scissors, your bunny, and some wool threaded on your needle with a knot at the end. So we're going to come up 5 rows from the magic circle. I'll zoom in so you can see that a little bit clearer. There we are. So we're going to go in a little bit away through a gap and come out 5 rows up where we want our eyes to start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So probably about here. Now I used pins on the last video, but on this one we're just going to wing it. So you can do it this way if you prefer. It's probably best to use pins when you're first starting. So we're going to pull that through so the knot goes inside the stuffing. Oops, we've got it tangled on his ear. Harriet. So we're going to do 2 rounds high. This is what the pattern's suggesting. Feel free to try 3 rounds, 3 rows high, or to try it in different positions, different eye types. But the pattern suggests 2 rows high, which is like that. And we're going to do them, we can either do them vertical or a slight angle outwards. I think I'll do that. So we're going to go down where we want the top of the eye to be, and then we're going to come back out at the base of the eye, pretty much in the same position. I try not to split the wool and go right through it, but I want to come out at the same place. And then it's usually 2 or 3 stitches I find works best. We're just going to go back in and come back out in the same place. Try not to come out somewhere slightly different because you will find there's a little gap in the eye. So that's 2 stitches. So you can have a look, think, does that look enough? Should we go for 3? If you do too many, if you do 4 or 5, you end up with quite thick black looking eyes, which can look a little bit overpowering. So I found 2 or 3 works really well. So going to go in for a third. And you can either just leave the eyes like that, so come up to do your second eye. That's I often use that when it's a boy. When it's a girl, I like to add little eyelashes, so we're going to do that on this bunny, but the choice is yours. Now what I'm going to do when I come up to start my eyelashes, I'm going to just pull that aside with my nail. What we're trying to do is start the eyelash slightly underneath the eye, just so that we don't have a gap between the eye and the eyelash. You want them to look as if they are joined together. So we're going to go back in and just come out. It's a bit tricky, this. Underneath, but so we'll do the bottom eyelash first. I'm in a bit of trouble doing that. I'm actually watching it in the camera as I'm doing it, and it's so much harder than just looking at the bunny. That's our third stitch that we're going to do. That's a little bit low. I like it a little bit high. So what I'm going to do is just go back in the same hole and go up a tiny bit. Just a little bit. But don't worry, because if you do it wrong, you can always just pull it out. It's a little bit of wool. And I'm using the wool just from a standard kit. And I'm on my 3rd huge piece from doing the tutorials, so there's plenty. I could have made at least 3 lots of eyes. So we're going to do our bottom eyelash. I'm just going to do that one quite straight across. So I'm going to do it about there, and then I'm going to come out where I want the other eyelash, the top one. So I'm going to come out just a bit higher, like so. You can use wool, you can use embroidery thread for this. Now that would look like that. To me that's a little bit low. I think it wants it to be a little bit higher. So I'm going to go back down and come up. Go back in the same hole. And then come up a bit higher up. Like so. See if this one's better. Oh, got a little bit of stuff in. We can pull that off. And then I'm going to do this one more angled upwards. So that one's quite level. I tend to do the one near the middle level and this one angled a little bit up. But you can experiment with them because there's all different ways you can do them, and some look nicer than others. It's just what you prefer. So there's a big one, a little one. Look at that. I've just come up there just to check I like it. And then go back down here. And then I'm going to come up where I want my second eye to be. And like we did in the last video, don't just go across right under the crochet surface because you may see the black thread going across. What I did was push my needle quite far down, look, and then quite far up, just so that the needle's right underneath the stuffing like that, rather than straight across the surface. We're going to come up level on the same roundlet at the bottom of the eye, pull it through, and now we're just going to do another eye exactly the same. Let's have a look. It's always tricky doing the second one because you want to try and get the same angle. So if your eye is vertical, keep it vertical. If it's slightly at an angle, do the same, because the more mirror image they are, I think the better the look. So we did 3 stitches on the last one, so I'm going to do the same on this one because we want them as even as possible. The name of the game with eyes is as even and mirror imaged as we can. Even looking at it, making sure you're using the same line. If you're looking at them being near the ears, see that's quite near the ear, and that is 2. You don't want one over here, one over here. It's just all about getting them very similar. So you also want your eyelash at a very similar angle as the other one. So I'm going to go back in there, and then this one is going to be quite level. So that one's at an angle like the other one is, and this one's going to be on the horizontal. They don't have to be perfectly the same, but if they're very similar, I just think it does give it a more professional looking finish. Now that looks a little bit big to me compared to the other one, so I'm going to go back in the same hole, just move my needle on a little bit. It doesn't have to be much. So because I went in the same hole and come back up, you can't see a black stitch. If I'd have gone slightly away from it, you'd have seen a black mark there, which we don't want. And I'm going to go back in here. So again, I'm pulling that aside with my needle, or you can do it with your nail, just so that that is right underneath. Like so. Now, if your eyes aren't quite right, pull one of them out. Pull the one out that you don't like, that you're not as keen on, and do it again. And try and mirror image it to the other one. Now look at that. I think that's really bonny. The little eyes, it's open eyes. And then we're going to finish off exactly as before. We're going to go back in that same hole. Again, going quite deep down so that we're not letting the black show. The black will show through. And then just in and out a couple of times. In and out, and that should be enough. And then we're going to pull it slightly taut. So we're going to pull, snip. And there we are. Look at those little bunny eyes. Ah. Look, even waving. Hello. The next video we're going to show you closed eyes, which are a little bit more complicated. So a little bit more advanced, but they do look really pretty. So follow me for that. Join me for that one as well.